The Crimson Fleet's terror. The Crimson ships moved through space like drops of blood against the darkness. Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, watching the stars bend around his fleet as they traveled faster than light. His forearms moved across the control panels with practiced ease, each motion precise and deadly. The Zephyrian Empire had been conquering worlds for over 2 centuries, and Vextar had personally overseen the destruction of 47 different civilizations. Today would make it 48. The bridge crew worked in perfect silence around him. Zephyrians were tall, thin beings with pale blue skin and large black eyes that could see into the infrared spectrum. Their technology was advanced beyond most species in the galaxy, and their military philosophy was simple: overwhelming force applied without mercy. They had never met a species they couldn't crush within hours of first contact. "Commander," called his tactical officer, Sub-Commander Crixon. "We are approaching the target system. The species calls it Kepler 442. Vextar nodded, his expression never changing. "Display the intelligence report." The main screen flickered to life, showing a blue-green world orbiting a yellow star. The planet looked peaceful, covered with swirling clouds and vast oceans. According to their scouts, it was home to a young species that had only recently learned to travel between planets. They called themselves humans. "Population?" Vextar asked. "Approximately 50 million on the main colony world," Crixon reported. "They have smaller settlements on 3 other planets in the system and several space stations. Total population across the entire system is roughly 65 million. Military strength? Minimal. They possess no warships, only cargo vessels and research ships. Their most advanced weapons appear to be chemical rockets and basic energy projectors. Intelligence suggests they spend most of their resources on scientific research rather than military development." Vextar almost smiled. Almost. Scientists and explorers were always the easiest to defeat. They wasted time trying to understand their attackers instead of fighting back. They usually attempted to communicate to find peaceful solutions right up until the moment the plasma cannons vaporized their cities. "How many ships do we face?" "Current scans show approximately 30 vessels in the system. Most are civilian, transports or research vessels. The largest appears to be a deep space exploration ship with minimal defensive capabilities. 200 Zephyrian battlecruisers against 30 civilian ships. It would be over in minutes." Vextar had seen this scenario dozens of times before. The humans would either surrender immediately or make a few desperate attacks before being overwhelmed. Then his forces would strip the worlds of anything valuable and eliminate the survivors. "Signal the fleet," he commanded. "Standard formation. Prepare to drop out of hyperspace in the system's outer region. All weapon systems to full power." The Dominator shuddered slightly as it dropped back into normal space. Around it, 199 other warships materialized, like a wave of death. Each vessel was over a kilometer long, covered in red armor plating that gave them their distinctive color. Plasma cannons lined their hulls, and their shields could deflect almost any weapon in the galaxy. Vextar had used this same fleet to destroy the crystal cities of Arcturus Prime, to burn the floating habitats of the Epsilon Eridani system, and to crack the ice moon fortresses of Proxima Centauri. Each victory had been swift and decisive. Each enemy had fallen before the Crimson Fleet's might. "Beginning sensor sweep," reported his science officer. "Detecting multiple human vessels throughout the system. They appear to be clustering near the main colony world. Probably trying to evacuate civilians," Vextar observed. "Standard defensive posture. They always try to save their weakest members first." What he didn't know was that 12 light-years away, Captain Elena Vasquez was staring at her ship's long-range sensors with growing horror. The Pioneer's Hope was humanity's most advanced research vessel, designed to explore the galaxy's mysteries and push the boundaries of human knowledge. It was definitely not designed for war. Elena was 42 years old, with graying hair and sharp green eyes that had seen wonders across the galaxy. She had discovered 3 new forms of crystalline life, mapped the interior of a neutron star, and been the first human to make contact with a benevolent alien species. But she had never faced anything like this. "How many ships?" she asked her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander James Park. Computer analysis suggests at least 200 vessels. Each one is approximately 6 times larger than our biggest cargo hauler. Park's voice was steady, but Elena could hear the fear underneath. Captain, their energy signatures are off the charts. Whatever they're using for weapons, it's far beyond anything we've ever seen. Elena looked around the bridge at her crew. These were scientists, engineers, and explorers. They had signed up to push the boundaries of human knowledge, to seek out new life and new civilizations. They had never expected to face an alien armada bent on destruction. Communications, she called to her comm officer. Get me a channel to Earth Command. Trying, Captain, but the signal delay is over 14 hours. By the time Earth receives our message and responds, it'll be too late. Elena nodded grimly. She had expected as much. The Pioneer's Hope was on the outer edge of human space conducting a survey of potentially habitable worlds. The nearest military base was 3 weeks away at maximum speed. Earth's main fleet was even further. What about the colony worlds? She asked. Kepler 442 Prime has no military vessels, just civilian transports. The other colonies in the system are even less defended. Park checked his instruments. Captain, I'm detecting weapon signatures from the alien fleet. They're powering up for attack. Elena made a decision that would change the course of human history. Plot an intercept course for the alien fleet. The bridge fell silent. Her science officer, Dr. Sarah Kim, was the first to speak. Captain, that's suicide. We're a research vessel. We have no weapons, no armor, no chance against 200 alien warships. Maybe not, Elena replied, but we have something they don't expect. We have human ingenuity, and we have the refusal to give up without a fight. Chief Engineer Marcus Chen spoke up from his position at the engineering station. Captain, if we're really going to do this, I might have some ideas. The Pioneer's Hope carries some of the most advanced experimental technology in human space. Not weapons, but maybe we can turn our tools into something they won't expect. Elena looked at each member of her crew. They were scared, but they were also determined. They understood what was at stake. 65 million human lives depended on someone making a stand, and they were the only ones in position to do it. All right, people. Let's show these aliens what happens when they threaten humanity. Marcus, what do you have in mind? Marcus, Chen had been working on experimental propulsion systems for most of his career. He knew the Pioneer's Hope better than anyone. Our main particle accelerator is designed for deep space research, but I can reconfigure it as a directed energy weapon. Our mining charges are meant for asteroid sampling, but they'll work as improvised torpedoes. And our quantum field generators. What about them? Elena asked. They're designed to create stable wormholes for instantaneous communication across galactic distances. But if I reverse the polarity and overload the system, I might be able to create localized space-time distortions. Not enough to destroy their ships, but maybe enough to disrupt their systems. Dr. Kim nodded slowly. The molecular fabricators could produce projectiles with specific chemical compositions. If we can analyze their ship hulls, we might be able to create armor-piercing rounds. And their communications, added the comm officer, Ensign Maria Santos. If they're using standard electromagnetic frequencies, I might be able to jam their signals or even hack into their systems. Elena felt a spark of hope. It was a tiny flame against the darkness, but it was something. How long do we have? At their current speed, the alien fleet will reach the inner system in approximately 6 hours, Park reported. Then we have 6 hours to turn a research vessel into a warship, Elena said. And 6 hours to figure out how to fight 200 alien ships with technology we've never seen before. The crew of the Pioneer's Hope began working with desperate efficiency. They knew the odds were impossible. They knew they would probably die. But they also knew that someone had to stand between the alien fleet and the innocent colonists on Kepler 442 Prime. In the ship's engineering bay, Marcus Chen began the delicate process of converting peaceful research equipment into weapons of war. The particle accelerator hummed with new energy as he rerouted power systems and recalibrated targeting sensors. The mining charges were loaded into the ship's cargo launchers, their proximity fuses set to maximum sensitivity. Meanwhile, Commander Vexistar watched his fleet approach the inner system with satisfaction. His sensors had detected the single human ship changing course to intercept them, but he felt no concern. One ship against 200 was not a battle, it was target practice. "Shall we destroy the approaching vessel, Commander?" asked Crixon. "Not yet. Let them come closer. I want to see what these humans think they can accomplish with their primitive technology." Vextar had no idea that he was about to face something the Zephyrian Empire had never encountered before, a species that refused to accept defeat, no matter how impossible the odds. The Crimson Fleet continued its advance, confident in their superiority and certain of their victory. The Pioneer's Hope raced toward them through the darkness, carrying humanity's desperate hope and the determination of a crew that would rather die fighting than live as slaves. The stage was set for a battle that would echo across the galaxy and change the course of both species forever. When science becomes warfare. 6 hours later, the Pioneer's Hope had been transformed into something that no one could have imagined. Chief Engineer Marcus Chen stood in what used to be the ship's main laboratory, now a makeshift weapons control center. Banks of monitors showed power levels, targeting systems, and weapon status displays. The peaceful hum of scientific equipment had been replaced by the aggressive whine of overcharged systems pushed far beyond their design specifications. "Particle accelerator is online and ready," Marcus reported to the bridge. "I've managed to focus the beam down to a 2-meter spread at maximum range. It won't punch through their shields like a proper military weapon, but it should cause some damage." Captain Elena Vasquez nodded as she listened to reports from across the ship. Her crew had worked miracles in those 6 hours, but she knew it might not be enough. Through the main viewer, she could see the Crimson Fleet approaching like a wall of death. 200 alien warships in perfect formation, their weapons already beginning to glow with menacing energy. "Dr. Kim, status on the quantum field generators?" "Ready, Captain. I've never tried to create hostile space-time distortions before, but the theoretical models suggest we can disrupt their navigation and targeting systems within a 5-kilometer radius. Maria, how are we doing with their communications?" Ensign Santos looked up from her station with a slight smile. "I've been monitoring their transmissions for the past hour. Their language is complex, but I'm starting to understand their basic military commands. And, Captain, I think I've found a way to introduce some chaos into their formation." "Explain." "They're using a centralized command structure. All tactical decisions flow from their flagship to the rest of the fleet. If I can jam their command frequencies at the right moment, individual ships will be operating blind." Elena felt another spark of hope. It was still a tiny flame against overwhelming darkness, but her crew was proving that human creativity could find solutions where pure firepower would fail. "Range to target?" she asked. 50,000 kilometers in closing, reported Lieutenant Commander Park. "They're not even bothering to deploy in combat formation. They think we're not a threat." On the bridge of the Dominator, Commander Vextar was indeed confident. His tactical display showed the single human ship approaching at what could only be described as attack speed. But the idea that one research vessel could threaten his entire fleet was absurd. "Interesting," he mused to his second-in-command. "The humans appear to be attempting some kind of desperate attack. Shall we put them out of their misery?" "Perhaps we should capture them first," suggested Crixon. "Intelligence might find their technology amusing." Vexitar considered this. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered so many worlds that individual species tended to blur together in his memory. But occasionally, a species showed unusual courage or creativity before being destroyed. Those were the ones that provided the most interesting data for the Empire's scientists to study. "Very well. Target their engines. Disable them, but don't destroy the ship. We'll board them and see what makes these humans think they can challenge the Empire." The Dominator's weapon systems locked onto the Pioneer's Hope. Massive plasma cannons swiveled to track the approaching human vessel. Vextar was about to give the order to fire when something unexpected happened. "Commander," his sensor officer called out urgently. The human ship just disappeared. On the Pioneer's Hope, Dr. Sarah Kim watched her instruments with satisfaction. "Quantum field distortion successful, Captain. We've created a localized space-time bubble around our ship. To their sensors, we just vanished. How long can you maintain it? Maybe 10 minutes before the field generators overload. Elena nodded. Marcus, are you ready? Particle accelerator fully charged. Mining torpedoes loaded. Just get us within range. The Pioneer's Hope raced through its quantum invisibility field toward the alien fleet. Elena knew they would only get one chance. Once they revealed themselves, 200 alien warships would focus all their firepower on her small vessel. Bringing us in behind their flagship, she announced. All stations prepare for combat. The words felt strange coming from her mouth. Elena had spent her entire career as an explorer and scientist. She had never fired a weapon in anger, never commanded a vessel in battle. But as she watched the alien fleet preparing to attack human colonies, she felt a cold determination settle in her chest, dropping quantum field in 3, 2, 1. The Pioneer's Hope materialized less than 500 meters behind the Dominator. At that range, even improvised weapons could be devastatingly effective. Fire everything, Elena commanded. Marcus Chen unleashed the full power of the particle accelerator. The beam, normally used to analyze the composition of distant stars, struck the alien flagship's rear shields with focused fury. At the same moment, 12 mining charges launched from the cargo bay, their chemical warheads designed to crack asteroids but perfectly capable of damaging alien hull plating. The effect was immediate and shocking. The Dominator's rear shields flared and failed under the unexpected assault. The mining charges detonated against the ship's armor, creating massive breaches in the hull. Emergency lights flashed across the alien bridge as atmosphere vented into space. Impossible, Vextar roared. How did they penetrate our shields? His science officer worked frantically at his console. Commander, their weapons are operating on completely different principles than anything in our database. Our shields are calibrated to stop plasma and particle weapons, but they're using some kind of focused energy beam that our defenses can't handle. For the first time in 2 centuries of conquest, Vextar felt something he had almost forgotten. Surprise. These humans had done something that no other species had managed. They had hurt his flagship. All ships, focus fire on the human vessel. Destroy them immediately. But the Pioneer's Hope was already moving. Elena had studied the alien formation during their approach, and she understood their weakness. The Zephyrian fleet was designed for long-range combat against conventional enemies. Their massive ships were not built for close quarters fighting against a small, agile opponent. Take us into their formation, she ordered. Use their own ships as cover. The research vessel dove between the alien battlecruisers like a small bird flying between elephants. The Crimson warships tried to target the human ship, but their weapons were too large and their targeting systems too slow. Every time they fired, the Pioneer's Hope was somewhere else, ducking behind another alien vessel or diving under their firing arcs. Maria, now, Elena called. Ensign Santos activated her jamming system, flooding the alien command frequencies with white noise and confusion. Across the fleet, individual ships suddenly found themselves cut off from central command. Some fired at what they thought was the human vessel, only to hit their own allies. Others tried to maneuver into better positions and collided with ships that were attempting the same thing. The perfect formation of the Crimson Fleet began to break apart. For the first time in their history, the Zephyrians were experiencing chaos in their ranks. Dr. Kim, can you create more quantum distortions? I can try, Captain, but the field generators are already overheating. Do it. Target their sensor arrays. Space around the alien fleet began to ripple and distort as quantum fields generated by human science created pockets of twisted space-time. Alien sensors went blind, their targeting computers failed, and their navigation systems began showing impossible readings. Marcus Chen watched his improvised weapon systems with growing excitement. Captain, the particle accelerator is more effective than I thought. Their shield technology seems to be completely vulnerable to our research beam. Elena allowed herself a moment of fierce satisfaction. The aliens had expected to face a primitive species with crude weapons. Instead, they were encountering human ingenuity at its finest. Every piece of scientific equipment on the Pioneers, Hope had been turned into a weapon, and the combination was proving devastatingly effective. But she knew their luck couldn't last forever. Damage report. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 7, reported the damage control officer. We've lost 2 of the field generators, and the particle accelerator is operating at 150% of safe levels. Elena nodded grimly. They were pushing their jury-rigged systems to the breaking point, but they were also pushing the alien fleet to its breaking point as well. On the Dominator, Vextar was experiencing something that no Zephyrian commander had felt in over 2 centuries, the possibility of defeat. His fleet was in chaos, his own ship was damaged, and a single human research vessel was running circles around 200 of his finest warships. Status report, he demanded. 17 ships with significant damage, 43 with minor damage, and we've lost contact with 12 vessels due to communication interference, Crixon reported. Commander, these humans are not fighting like any species we've encountered before. Vextar studied the tactical display with new understanding. The humans weren't trying to win through superior firepower. They were using creativity, unpredictability, and intimate knowledge of their own technology to turn the battle into something the Zephyrians had never experienced. A fair fight. Signal the fleet, he ordered. All ships are to withdraw to minimum safe distance. We need to reassess our tactics. As the Crimson Fleet pulled back in confusion, the Pioneer's Hope hung in space like a tiny silver needle surrounded by giants. Elena looked at her crew with pride and amazement. They had done the impossible. They had faced overwhelming odds and not only survived, but forced the enemy to retreat. Maria, open a channel to the colony worlds. Channel open, Captain. Elena took a deep breath. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the research vessel Pioneer's Hope. We have engaged the alien fleet and we're still here. The enemy has withdrawn to regroup, but this fight is far from over. I'm transmitting all our tactical data to every human ship in the system. If we're going to survive this, we need every vessel to join the fight. Across the Kepler 4R42 system, cargo haulers, mining ships, and civilian transports began receiving the Pioneer's Hope's combat data. For the first time, humans had proof that the seemingly invincible aliens could be hurt, could be confused, could be fought. The battle was only beginning, but already it had changed everything. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity would not go quietly into extinction, and that sometimes the greatest weapon was not advanced technology, but the refusal to surrender in the face of impossible odds. Commander Vextar stared at the small human ship through his viewscreen, and realized that his empire's 2 centuries of easy conquest were about to come to an end. These humans had shown him something he had never expected to see. Defeat was possible, even for the mighty Zephyrian fleet. The war for humanity's survival had begun, and it would be fought not with overwhelming force, but with the creativity and determination that made humans unique in the galaxy.